Hello, welcome to Chicago Reacts. My name is Colin, and today I'm watching every single Warhammer 40K faction explained Part 2. This is Part 1 of my reaction to this video, and I've already reacted to Part 1 of every faction explained. So if you haven't seen those yet, go and watch those. It's in 3 parts, because these are rather long videos. So yeah, if you want to get an insight into my journey into learning about the Warhammer 40K world, go back and watch those. And also be sure to like, share, and subscribe. You know the deal. So yeah, please go and do right now. Why don't you? But yeah, so within the last video, I think my 2 favorite factions that I've learned about so far are the Sisters of Battle and Adeptus Mechanicus. They just seem to have the most entertaining abilities that if I were to be playing this game in some capacity, those are probably the factions that I would want to play as. But yeah, I'm enjoying learning about the IP. Certainly a very large universe, lots of players involved and whatnot. So there's a lot to learn. So I appreciate Bricky here putting together these video series explaining everything for newcomers such as myself. So without further ado, why don't we just get started, shall we? And let's click play because tab isn't working.
This is part 2 in a 2-part series on the Warhammer races. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, we do the Imperium of Man. You can check that out in the description, and I would highly recommend you watch that to get context for this episode. If you already have, go ahead and keep on watching. So after an entire episode of nothing but humans, we can now talk about chaos, which involves humans again, but a little bit less. We also got demons and shit.
I just felt someone grab my ass.
What?
Like hard, Nick.
So, as I've mentioned many times before, we've discussed the warp, the immaterium, the hellish landscape, the purgatory dimension realm between the material realm of our existence. Now, in the warp, it's terrifying, horrible, there are demons everywhere, things are crazy, all your minds and thoughts and emotions get projected there. It is both formless and empty, it is vast and tiny, it obeys the laws of time and physics while simultaneously does absolutely nothing of the sort. It is a hodgepodge and a culmination of just unknowable, eldritch, horrifying shit. And there are 4 gods that permeate in chaos and the warp. These are the 4 major chaos gods. And if we wish to learn about chaos, we need to learn about each and every single one of these chaos gods. First up, we have Khorne, and he is the easiest. Khorne is your
It's Khorne.
Satan. He is all about anger, murder, fighting, blood.
Still a trending thing, isn't it? It's Khorne. It's got the juice. Anyway, I'm sorry.
You ever heard the term,
so sorry.
blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne? That's Khorne. The whole idea is that he is all about the fury and strength of battle. He doesn't care where blood comes from, so long as blood is flowing.
That is also a horrifying description, but also the painting here. That is a spooky, creepy smile, and I love it. That is a great design there.
He wants to fight and murder and carnage and slaughter and death, 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 death. That is
death,
death,
death, death, death.
Very simple to understand. Next up, you have Tzeentch, and Tzeentch is the god of change. However, the god of change, it's permeates in so many different other ways. He's the most eldritch of all the demon gods. He has this weird way to always be plucking at the strings of the universe. He's always conniving and scheming and doing his best to cause as much little bullshit as he can. Tzeentch is unknowable. Everything that makes sense, he will and won't do. Every future and setting and every type of destiny or fate is all foretold and also changeable. It is set in stone while also completely random. He knows what everything is going to happen and also that none of it's going to happen. You would
okay. That's starting to get a little like, I don't want to say it's not quite annoying yet, but the with this character and that ether realm. He was basically describing the same thing, that it is this, but it's also not, and it's also this, but it's also not that. That, like, I get the kind of mysterious, kind of unknowable freakiness of that. It's kind of what do you call it? Cthulhu, like that kind of cosmic horror kind of type of thing. But I'm sure it's more interesting in context, but just the way it's being described right now seems a little bit like lazy writing. You could basically just say, oh yes, this thing is horrible and terrifying and all knowing in this way, but it's also not at the same time. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe there's a little more to it than what I'm hearing so far. So maybe I've jumped the gun. Let's see.
Ask Zeech a question. And that question leads to 3 more questions. And those questions lead to the heat death of the universe, which asks 4 answers to those questions. And then he thinks to himself, what are questions even really? And are you even asking the questions? Or are you simply giving paths to answers and other horse shit? Zeech is just, I'm gonna fuck with stuff. He is yes and he is no. He is the understanding and he is complexity. He is unknowable. And that's what the God of Change is about. Very bizarre. And he likes birds a lot. I don't know why. Next up we got Papa Nurgle. Papa Nurgle, he loves you for who you are. Probably not. He will murder you just the same.
Wait, is he actually called Papa Nurgle, or is it just Nurgle and he's adding on Papa? Because I do kind of hope it is Papa Nurgle. It's a good name. Papa Nurgle. And this character design, he looks like a Nurgle. I'm just saying.
But Papa Nurgle is about rot, pestilence.
I'm also noticing a trend in lots of teeth with these gods here. Big theme on teeth and multiple mouths where they shouldn't be, or where you wouldn't expect them, I guess.
Death and decay. He is the end of everything. Him and Zeech do not like each other very much, because where Zeech represents change and adjustment, Nurgle represents stagnation and death. He is all about miasma and pestilence and large bloat and pus and organs and people just being sedentary, sloth. He is the idea that everything will rot and decay and die. Nothing is certain besides decay and death. All of us will end up the same way, and broken down through just sheer never-ending decomposition. So the joke that Nurgle always loves you is generally because of that, because we all end up the same. We all rot, and we all die and wither.
I mean, that is true.
And he's got a general theme of course, pestilence and different kinds of diseases and sickness and things of that nature. That's generally Nurgle. He's pretty easy to understand as well, and he chunk. Finally, we have the youngest of the Chaos Gods, and that is Slaanesh, also known as the Prince of Pleasure, or the God of unspeakable excess.
Why is the midsection blurted out? Is that just a joke? I don't know. What's she hiding under that censor bar? I guess, or what is he hiding? He's the one to put it there, I guess. So, what's up? What's going on here?
Slaanesh is generally referred to with sex, but it's not only sex. It's just that's a good avenue if you want to make stuff. Slaanesh is just the idea of the senses of the body being cranked to not just 11, but more like 17. So we'll discuss Slaanesh a little bit.
All right, so we've got a female character here. How are we going to design her, with grotesque and teeth coming out of all orifices and whatnot, or are we just going to give her big titties and disguise her in the typical way? Seems like they went with the latter there, didn't they? Oh, let's see. What can she do, though? Maybe she can make up for it there in the writing.
A bit more when we talk about the Eldar, because they done fucked up, but or whatever is mainly about just the excess of emotions, and therefore sex is generally a large part of it. However, it's mostly pain and torture.
That's cool drawing. That's more like, in my realm thing. But the other characters had all these, like, spikes and horns and teeth and slime and lots of grotesque things. That first drawing was a little more of a leaning too heavily on the sex appeal, I think, but this is a little more accurate for a demon god type creature design, in my opinion, anyway.
Lots of pain, torture, but sometimes sexually related or drug related. Lots of drugs. Lots of drugs. Slanesh gets
Where's the
off
rock and roll?
on
We got sex and
everything.
drugs.
Extremes in happiness, extremes in sadness, extremes in pain and sadism and masochism, and of course that goes along with the sex part of it as well. It's generally referred to with sex because of the color scheme, very purple, lots of exposed genitalia. A lot of their models have like exposed nipples and stuff.
Sounds like a character from Hellraiser, doesn't it? Wouldn't that be interesting if there was like a crossover between Warhammer 40K and Hellraiser? It seems like two IPs that could take place in, at least have crossovers, you know, into their universes if they don't take place in the same one. I don't know.
And that is generally the theme you go for from a physical side, but it really embodies everything, mainly pain and also the excessive amounts of emotion. So when it comes down to it, you'll find a lot of them have things like spikes or whips or any kind of BDSM style gear because it is unspeakable excess, the prince of pleasure, everything in excess to the point where
that's what I'm talking about. The Hellraiser.
Slanesh in a nutshell. A little bit bizarre and a little hard to describe sometimes, but as we talk more about the Dark Eldar layer,
is Hellraiser the name of the movie or the character? I don't, because I know Pinhead's in there, but like I'm getting distracted. One second. Ah. I'm sorry if I'm wasting time here. I'm probably yes, it is Hellraiser. Okay, so sorry for wasting everyone's time. I was correct all along. I should trust myself more. That was the lesson I learned today, and we are moving on.
This video, you'll understand it far better and far more than you'd want to. Now you might be thinking, why would anyone ever want to join Chaos? They all look horrifying, screwed up, and just frightening things, right? Well, the thing is that, of course, one, your mind is put into the warp and the Immaterium, so you can be easily swayed by chaos demons when they get into your head, especially if you're a psyker. Sometimes regiments of the less mentally strong people, whether they be civilians or, say, low-level guardsmen or conscripts, can be easily swayed by this and become chaos cultists and stuff, and they serve their dark gods and whatever god they personally prefer. However, and this might seem strange, chaos in their own right isn't necessarily evil. See, the warp is every manifestation of emotion and being, every soul, everything of existence. This includes all the good things. All the different chaos gods have another side to their coin. Khorne might be death, murder, slaughter, slaughter, but he's also got this weird sense of survival of the fittest, trial by combat, and honor. Khorne will never lie to you. Khorne will never stab you in the back. Khorne isn't about conniving and scheming. Khorne is about straight up mano-y-mano, you versus me, get in the ring, we're gonna murder each other hard right now. It may not be a good thing at the end of the day, but it is that other side of the coin. Him and Tzeentch generally don't get along because Tzeentch is that conniving schemer, but he's also about the idea of hope. Where there is change for your predicament. There is change for your problem. The hope of the galaxy, the ability to bend the world to your will, the idea that your fate is not set in stone, but in reality that you control your own destiny and can control it whenever you want, the changer of ways. That is Tzeentch. And of course, Tzeentch and Nurgle hate each other because while Nurgle does represent stagnation, death, and decay, he also represents finality. An ending. The fact that you can be mentally at peace knowing that you will end and how you will end. Fear of the unknown, fear of change is not present with Nurgle. With Nurgle, everything will rot and die, and that provides that finality, that ability that this is over. We are all the same, and we will all end the same. We know the meaning of life. The meaning of life is to live and die and rot. And with that, it brings peace of mind. Slanesh is a lot more simple. While they are the excess of emotion, they are also the representation of emotion. Slanesh embodies happiness. Slanesh embodies excitement and joy and pleasure, not only in the sense of the physical, bam style of pleasure, but also everything else like food and drink and air on your cheek and sunlight, the feeling, emotion and feeling. All of that is also represented with Slanesh. So you have to ask, why are they always represented as super evil skulls and spikes on everything and want to murder everybody? I don't really got an answer for you on that one. My assumption is that because Mentally, humans may think worse thoughts, even if we don't act on them, and therefore they're projected in the warp more. That one's a little bit weird. I don't know. This is me spitballing right now, but I don't know. You need a super bad guy. You already got the Imperium of Man. You need somebody to be a little bit worse than them. So you got demons. Honestly, who cares? I just want to buy like a bird magician. Look at him. So cool. So combining all this together,
It's a little strange, I guess. Okay. I don't know exactly where the thought I was going with, but like, yeah, those demons, like they were initially described as being pretty grotesque and horrible and whatnot, but they all have positive features to them as well. So, is it? I don't know. I guess it depends on the player. You know, it's in the eye of the beholder if these people are considered good or bad or evil or whatnot. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know.
Tabletop, Chaos Demons are generally very melee-based. They run in, go really hard. You have lots of summoning and conjuring, tons of spells. Generally a little bit frail, but they have special saves to make them a little bit stronger. You've got giant demons and smaller demons. You got hordes of little boys and tons of big guys. Demons are as they seem. Demons. Nurgle is slow, Khorne is super scary in melee, you've got Tzeentch who are far more into psychers and spellcasting, and then Slaanesh who is all melee, really fast but squishy, but in lots of hordes of tons of melee and pain damage, of course. So overall, the demons are a huge part of 40K and a massive threat to almost every single faction with the exception of a couple. However, the big part about demons is also transferred into the other 9 Primarchs we didn't talk about, which are the Chaos Space Marines.
Chaos Space Marines.
So Horse and
is that
all
what he
of
said?
his
Chaos
boys,
Space Marines?
all of
But
them in
that's
the
not what it said.
Primarch.
Hang on a second. Chaos Astartes, but is that? I feel like I
Huge part of
misheard
40K,
something.
and a massive threat to almost every single faction with the exception of a couple. However, the big part about demons is also transferred into the other 9 Primarchs we didn't talk about, which are the Chaos Space Marines.
Okay, yeah. Chaos Space Marines, and this is one of them, I'm guessing.
So Horse and all of his boys, all of them in the Primarchs, they have all also become Chaos Boys, and they all have their own special Chaos Legions, specializing in so many different things, just like the Adeptus Astartes, the Angels of Death, the regular Space Marines. Chaos Space Marines aren't a whole lot different than the regular Space Marines. They have the same armor, generally the same training and toughness. They just specialize in different kinds of things. And also a lot of the Primarchs have ascended into greater is it greater demons? They're demon Primarchs at this point. Gigantic, horrifying man-demon hybrids that are pretty awesome, if I'm going to be honest. They look really cool. But them and their associated legions they are a part of are all kind of going out there and causing a large ruckus for everyone else. Considering the raw strength and firepower of a legion of Space Marines, imagine that entire legion just converting to chaos and immediately fighting you. It's generally pretty horrifying. There's a lot of them, so I gotta write them down, but you've got the Emperor's Children with Primarch Fulgrim, loyal to Slaanesh. These people, they are some messed up people. They're just sensory overload, tons of drugs, tons of torture. And I think Fulgrim is a demon Primarch right now, and oh god, I am terrified to see what that man looks like, at least on the tabletop, because Emperor's Children are not good people. You got the
I really am, for the most part, enjoying all of the artistic renditions of these characters and stuff. I gotta say, like, well done, whoever all these artists are. Well done.
The Iron Warriors, which are kind of like opposite of the Imperial Fists, with Primarch Perturabo, I believe is his name. They're Chaos Undivided. They just kind of serve chaos in a general aspect instead of choosing one of the 4. But the Iron Warriors are big on the siege and fortification, and they're basically...
Yeah, it kind of looks a little bit like Doomsday, doesn't he? Yeah. Just an observation.
Entirely against the Imperial Fists and a major rival. Perturabo, I believe, is also still alive, and I'm also very interested to see what he looks like, because Demon Primarchs are badass. You've got the Night Lords with Primarch Conrad Kurz. Conrad Kurz is dead, which is good, because he's a sick fuck. But the Night Lords are generally about terrorizing people, and terrorism. They're generally about fear, and rightly so. You've got the World Eaters with
holy shit,
Angron still alive, also excited to see. Angron If you think you've known an angry person, Angron is the angriest son of a bitch you will ever know. Angron removed parts of his brain that didn't make him angry, so he could be angrier. Angron. Fucker's mad.
Damn.
You got the Death Guard with Primarch Mortarion. They actually have their own special codex and their own major army on the tabletop. Mortarion himself is actually one of the models, and look at him. Look at him.
That's
it's
badass.
So cool looking.
Yeah.
Of course, Nurgle based, obviously. So very slow but very tanky. You got the Word Bearers with Primarch Lorgar. Lorgar is, I believe, still alive. I don't know what's up with him at the current moment, but the Word Bearers are generally the people who caused all the major problems in the beginning. At least I blame them for it. They're little assholes. You got the Black Legion with Primarch Horus. Get fucked, nerd. You've got the Alpha Legion with Primarch Alfarius Omegon. Chaos, I think. And then finally, you've got the Thousand Sons with Primarch Magnus the Nerd. Thousand Sons also have their own book, just like the Death Guard. Magnus is also a...
Wait, really? Pragmar Magnus the... Okay, I thought I heard Pragmar Magnus the Nerd, but I'm guessing he actually said the third. That would probably make more sense, but let's see.
At least I blame them for it. They're little assholes. You got the Black Legion with Primarch Horus. Get fucked, nerd. You've got the Alpha Legion with Primarch Alfarius Omegon. Chaos, I think. And then finally, you've got the Thousand Sons with Primarch Magnus the Nerd. Thousand Sons also...
He did say the nerd. Am I crazy? Pragmar Magnus the Nerd, right? That's hilarious if that is so. I approve.
Their own book, just like the Death Guard. Magnus is also a tabletop model. He looks super cool.
That's cool.
Tell. And they're
It's
all
giving
super
what's it called crack with Tim Curry Legend. It's giving some Legend vibes there.
Psyker and kind of Egyptian themed. They look pretty neat. But overall, with all of these Chaos Space Marine factions, you can play as a lot of different ones, but the main ones that you can really work at are standard Space Marines, Chaos Space Marines, as well as the Death Guard and Thousand Sons, as they are the most fleshed out, especially on the tabletop at least. See this right here? This is a really good way to describe the Chaos Space Marines. What the thick-headed fools with their broken corpse of an emperor fail to understand is that not only can they never defeat us, but they cannot hide or flee or shield themselves from the triumph of chaos. They are finite and we are unbound, undivided. They must not err, or they shall fall to heresy. All who fall join our cause. Every imperial fool who dares to open his eyes is a willing recruit. They strive merely to hold back our fury and might, and it consumes them. Thus, you can see chaos is inevitable. We lurk not only beyond their grasp and at their gates, we lurk within the darkness of their souls, on the tip of their tongues, in their tortured dreams. We are them, but freed from the shackles of ignorance. We are them, grown strong, evolved. We are them, but so much more. As hardcore as that quote is, the saddest part is they're mostly right. Chaos is basically unkillable. You could probably get rid of Space Marines, a decent amount, the Chaos Space Marines that is, but every soul that dies goes to the warp. Every Chaos soul will end up back in the warp. And depending on how hard you killed them, they will come back at some point. Every demon you banish will return at some point. Chaos is unstoppable. The warp is unending. And while maybe there is at some point some way to stop them somehow, the resources to do so, the requirements to do so, are so far beyond the reaches of man and the other races at the current moment that really it's just an unstoppable force that just keeps on coming and is just barely being slowed. Chaos is by far the biggest threat. They are without number, their legions are everywhere, and yeah, they're pretty scary. So, I promise, we're done with humans now. Let's talk about some Xenos.
Xenos. Okay, hang on a second. I just want to keep an eye on time. We're at 16 minutes. Let's see. Okay. I see Webway. Let's stop at Webway. Okay.
So let's talk about the Eldar, or also known as the Eldari, which are a super hyper-specialized and very technologically advanced race of, well, elf people. They were, as well, responsible for the creation of Slaanesh, the newest demon god. How'd they do that? debauchery on a world-ending scale. See, back in the day, it was just Khorne, Tzeentch, and Nurgle. And the Eldar are very, very ancient, millions of years. These Eldar, however, have a bit of a sensory problem. You know, every kind of pain or feeling that you have is a little bit amplified compared to the normal. However, with Eldar, as their race advanced so excessively, and they became so self-reliant, and everything became so easy, there was no requirement for food production anymore, there was no shortages, everything was basically done. Everyone was so comfortable, and that comfort breeded this weird sedation, and that sedation breeded the requirement for more and more debauchery.
Debauchery! Debauchery!
When everything can be so easily acquired, you will end up down this road of pure debauchery. All of the senses the Eldar had that were so powerful, things like feeling, happiness, sadness, and just evil and good, all needed to be satisfied and satiated. And the desire to satiate these senses grew more and more with worse and worse debauchery. It started off with things like sex and drugs becoming so much more rampant because of these are the first things you generally turn to when requirements for living are so...
Okay, wait, hang on a second. That lady on the left, that is straight up just a copy of Leia from The Empire Strikes Back. Come on. They're not even trying. Like, that is a one-to-one, like, except for maybe the headband thing. I don't remember Leia having a headband, but, like, the chain around the neck, everything, just the armband, like, all that. Just, anyway.
Easily accessible. It would get to the point that made Sander Cohen in BioShock look sane. All right, this is the kind of debauchery it led to. It was constantly satisfying and satiating these sexual and sadistic or masochistic fantasies that only elevated and elevated. And this was species-wide. People started going down darker, more depraved, and more violent paths as time went on. However, some people didn't entirely take to that. Some of the Eldar were looking at this depraved species that they had become and said, no thanks for me, dog, I'm good. And they bailed. These are the Craft World Eldar. They left on these giant continent-sized starships called Craft Worlds. They believed in learning the old ways of the Eldar and pushing away from this depravity and debauchery and going back to their main roots. And so they would segment themselves on these giant craft worlds far in the outer reaches of space. They even had this thing called the Webway. Remember what we mentioned about
Webway
travel with the Imperium? Well, the Eldar...
Okay. That's Webway. Just, split up these videos somewhat evenly. Let's stop there. I might go back just a little bit in the next video just to, catch people up if, I don't know. But, yeah, we'll stop there. Again, some more entertaining info about these factions and these characters. I think I need to see the demon characters in context of the game, maybe just to kind of understand a little better about how they work as far as, like, being demons and, I don't know. I'm struggling to really understand what or who they are, I think. So I think I need to see it in context in the game. But overall, still enjoying learning about these characters, this world. Loving the designs for the most part. There are a few that seem a little, I don't know, could be a little more creative. Like the Princess Leia one. Come on. I know there's a lot of Star Wars inspiration, but let's not do one-to-one recreations, shall we? I don't know. Yeah. Thanks everyone for watching. Again, be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you want to make sure that you see part 2 of this reaction to part 2 of the factions explained. You know what I'm saying, right? Like, share, and subscribe. Yeah. All right. I'll see y'all next time here at the Patrons.